Thank you, Councillor Peterson-Pick. Yes, we can hear you. We're still trying to resolve the live streaming and recording issue.
Thank you everyone for your patience. I will reconvene this meeting at 8:22 p.m. We are still having some technical difficulties. My understanding is that the Deputy Mayor online cannot see us, but he can hear us. So Deputy Mayor, if you do have any questions, please raise your hand and we will come to you at that point in time. And we have got a video recording for the purposes of our legislative requirements. Okay, so just get back to my place. We're at item 7, confirmation of minutes. Councillor Ostrzowski, you've got your mic on.
Yes, sorry. Just before we go to item 7, I just need to make another declaration of interest, if I can, please. I think it's back at item 5, was it? Yes, disclosure of interest, please.
Sorry, which item?
Item 5, the disclosures of interest. Yep. I just need to make another disclosure, please,
which
before
item?
we continue. Thank you. It's for item 10.5.2.1, the City of Bayswater Annual Report and Annual Financial Report 23-24. The Targeted Underground Power Program is mentioned in the attachment to this report. I have information from the department that I have an interest in common on this matter. I'd like to declare an impartial interest on this item. However, in the future, this declaration may need to change. I'll be staying in the room for the item. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to confirm, that's item 10.5.2.1 and it's impartial. Thank you. Okay. So we'll go back to item 7, confirmation of minutes. So 7.1, do I have a mover to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of the 10th of December 2024? Councillor Ostrzowski, seconded Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. And then 7.2 is the special council meeting. Do I have a mover and seconder? So moved Councillor Maleka, seconded Councillor Palmer. This is for the special council meeting of the 11th of December 2024. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so we move on to item 8, presentations with petitions. So do any councillors have a petition to table? Councillor Latta.
Hello. I have a petition to table, and I wanted to propose a motion that we accept the petition and consider the matter as an item of new business of an urgent nature under item 13 of the ordinary council meeting agenda for 28th of January 2025, subject to a verbal report being provided by the CEO or a director on this matter.
If you could please first explain the nature of the petition and then explain why the matter is urgent.
So the petition requests the City of Bayswater postpone the clearing of vegetation until there is further evidence that the cormorants are significantly contributing to poor water quality in Lake Brearley and Lake Bungana. And there are 99 signatures on this hard copy, and it is urgent because the works are underway, and by the time the next council meeting arises, there won't be a decision to make.
Thank you. I'll ask if there's a seconder. Seconded Councillor Palmer. So I'm going to put to the vote to accept the petition and to accept it as an item of urgent business together. Yeah. So I'm going to put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. So presentations, there are none this evening. Deputations were heard at... Oh, sorry. Do you have a petition? Sorry. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Eveson.
Thank you. Yes, I've got a petition as well, so I was waiting for my spot after that one. So I can read it out.
Please.
Yeah, so it's to the City of Bayswater. We, the undersigned, being the electors of the district, formally petition the City of Bayswater to address the following: to not construct a short section of footpath along Ealing Bridge Street in Morley. Dot point 1, This proposal has previously been raised and voted down by both residents and the City of Bayswater Council in 2018. Point 2, Ellingbridge Street has little traffic and has been given priority over busy roads because a member of the community has asked for a path. As the initiator of this petition, my name is, and the person's name is listed, and I can be contacted at their residential address for further information in relation to this matter. Now, there's 2 pages and I've counted 22 signatures on that petition. So I'd like to table that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? So you're moving that? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Latta. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ostrowski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Latta, Councillor Johnson, myself and the Deputy Mayor. All those against? Councillor Palmer. That is accepted. Okay, so presentations, there are none this evening. Deputations were heard at last week's agenda briefing forum. So move on to delegates' reports, and tonight we have one report from Councillor Johnson. Councillor Johnson, would you like to move this?
Yes.
Can I have a seconder? Councillor Palmer. Councillor Johnson, would you like to make any comments?
Thank you. So I undertook this training in carbon emissions, carbon reporting and ESG reporting to help me understand what is required when we ask our staff to do these reports for us, and as part of the audit and risk reporting to understand further the requirements and they're the requirements of the reporting.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer, did you wish to speak to it? Okay, I'll put this straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay, so item 9 is method of dealing with agenda business, and Councillor Johnson will be pulling first this evening. So, councillors, I'll just let you know that there's agenda item 10.3.1, tender 20-2024, supply of sand and aggregates, has been withdrawn from the agenda by the CEO. So we'll now move to consideration of the reports in section 10. And can I have a mover and seconder to bring forward item 13.1? Oh, okay. So, Councillor Johnson, you're pulling first. So, did you want to advise which items you'd like to pull?
Just 10.3.3, please.
The Walga Sustainable Energy Project, yep. That's it. Councillor Maleka? Councillor Ostrowski? Councillor Eveson?
Yes, please. 10.1.1, the proposed road dedication reserve, Black Boy Way Reserve. And that's it, thanks, yep.
Councillor Palmer?
10.1.4, proposed naming reserve 33533.
10.1.4, yep.
Thank you very much. That's it, thank you.
Councillor Latta?
Did 10.3.4 get pulled already?
10
Oh,
point,
it was subject to a deputation anyway, so it'll be discussed.
10 point, yeah, that'll be, you can pull it though.
No, that's fine. And just confirming 14.1.1 will be discussed as well, regardless of whether someone
Yes.
pulls it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor? Nothing? Okay. Okay, so councillors, we're going to move to consideration of the reports in section 10, but could I please have a mover and seconder to bring forward item 13.1, which is in regards to the petition that has just been lodged because there are people in the gallery and council has resolved to consider as urgent business, as well as items 10.1.1 and 10.3.4, which were subject to deputations. Move Councillor Palmer? Yes? Seconded Councillor Latta. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay, so we're going to item 13 now, which is new business of an urgent nature. And councillors and members in the public gallery, in section 8 of tonight's agenda, council voted to accept the petition from Mandy Burrows to request the City of Bayswater to postpone the clearing of vegetation until there is further evidence that the cormorants are significantly contributing to poor water quality in Lake Brearley and Lake Bungana, and consider this matter further under urgent business. So I will first ask the CEO to provide a verbal report on this matter, then I will seek a motion from council. Mr. CEO.
Through you, Madam Mayor. In terms of a bit of an update, councillors, the City has engaged a specialist consultant to prepare a master plan that approaches the water quality issues in a holistic manner. Alluvium has been provided with all previous research and data from the City and undertaken additional analysis to better understand the complex problems that we're experiencing there. Research has shown up to a third of the nutrients entering the lake could be attributed to the cormorants. And as part of developing the Maylands Lakes Master Plan, Alluvium reviewed existing water quality data. This included lake water and groundwater assessments undertaken by GHD and other associated with the project. GHD has previously developed estimates of water balance that Alluvium has further refined by considering additional catchment runoff and nutrient concentrations. And Alluvium has also used international literature around the rates of contributions from birds and estimates of cormorant numbers from observations of those that have been reported. This research has shown the nutrient contributions from the cormorants is significant and provides the necessary food for algal blooms to occur. Reducing this is a primary focus of the master plan, therefore focusing on reducing nutrient inputs, including those from birds, will help make conditions less favourable for any future algal blooms. We are taking our advice from our consultant who is developing the master plan. Pruning works have commenced on Lake Brearley and are planned to continue on the Lake Bungana. The City will plant vegetation on the islands across our winter planting seasons, and works will include establishing new plants on the islands to support a more diverse habitat, including sedges, which will act as a natural filter and remove nutrients. The vegetation pruning and replanting is one part of the holistic approach to trying to improve the water quality at Maylands Lakes.
Thank you. Councillor Latta, did you have a motion?
I have provided the City with a motion for council to consider.
Okay, I'm just going to double check. Can the Deputy Mayor see what's on the screen? You can? Okay, great. Thank you. Would you like to read it out? And then I'll ask for a seconder.
The motion is that Council 1 receives the petition in regards to tree pruning on the islands on Maylands Lakes and acknowledges the concerns raised in the petition. 2, notes that the current tree pruning works have been completed on one island and near completion on the other island on Lake Brearley. Requests the Chief Executive Officer to not prune the non-invasive trees such as eucalypts on the islands on Lake Bungana, and confirms that the islands will be revegetated with endemic species in winter 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Palmer. Councillor Latta.
Thank you. So this petition has 99 petitioners on the physical one, but I also want to note that there was an electronic petition that had 115 petitioners, but it didn't meet the requirements of our standing orders because it didn't have the full address of the signatories, and there were signatories from outside City of Bayswater, but I did just want to note that there was that additional petition. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to hear from the City. I did have one more question, sorry, if you don't mind, before I speak on it, just from something that had been raised tonight. I just wonder if the City could explain what other steps they took besides speaking to residents at the community forum before they decided to go ahead. Because my understanding was it wasn't just that you sought out a contractor, but you also sought some advice. So can we get an outline of like when the advice was sought from the consultant?
I'll go to the CEO.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, I'm aware of the advice that was sought from the consultant that's been within the last couple of months. I mean, I can recall this being discussed and raised by the consultant at the September Community Consultation Forum. But in relation to the specific details, I'd probably have to go to the director or the manager in terms of that specific one. I'm only aware of that broad nature, Councillor Ladder.
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, I'm not sure if I probably need to defer this to the manager.
Yep.
Yep.
I'll go to the manager.
Thank you. Through the chair, can you just clarify the question again?
The question was just about whether the city sought other advice, like that is advice from the consultant, from the master plan consultant before making the decision to go ahead.
Yes, thank you. The city received advice from the consultant, the city's consultant Alluvium. This was also presented verbally to the SAP. That was verbally presented and is noted in the minutes from October 2024 to the SAP. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so my motion asks the city to retain the native vegetation on Lake Bungana, but permits the continued, the plan that they currently had. I feel like the city has done everything that that I have asked of it since I have come onto council. It has sought scientific advice. It has implemented regular community forums to share information and receive community feedback, and it has improved the way in which information is presented on Engage Bayswater. And I feel like as a councillor, I have to trust in the evidence that I have been shown, and I have been shown this evidence from the master plan consultant that the city used to help inform its decision, that the cormorants contribute around 30% of the nutrients in the lake, and that resolving the nutrient issues is part of improving water quality. If I don't trust this information, then I don't know how I'm going to make a decision on the master plan in March with information from these very same sources. I worry about it a lot, and I worry about a divided community. I feel like on many of Maylands Lake's issues, there is not unanimity amongst the community, and this makes it particularly challenging for us to make decisions based on what the community wants, because the community wants different things. Different parts of the community want different things. And so from the time that I was elected, I have asked the city to give us a process, give us evidence, seek that evidence before making a decision, show us the evidence so that we can make the decision and follow a process that keeps the community informed. And I feel like the city has done all of that on this. And I know that it does not please everybody, that no decision is going to please everybody, but we have followed a process, and I think that that is all that we can do on this, is continue to follow this process. Otherwise, we do not have a basis to make a decision. And I think it's a really, really important decision. I also think it's important that council has faith in the integrity of the information that we are presented, because it will be a big decision. So that's why I'm putting forward this. Based on the evidence that I have seen, I understand that were the cormorants to relocate to Lake Bungana, that they would contribute to the problem, they would make it harder to implement solutions. And given that they don't currently nest on Lake Bungana, I feel like impact to the cormorants is not really a legitimate criticism of this action. So I'm happy to put this forward, and with much respect for the community members that I know have put a lot of work into this and have come up with many arguments, and I do appreciate their passion for this issue and this area, and I hope that they will continue to come along and engage in the community forums and put forward their views.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer?
May I just ask one question, please, Madam Mayor? And that is on item 3, to not prune the non-invasive trees such as eucalypts on the islands. Are the city intending to take the eucalypts off as well? Is that a point of concern?
I'll go to the CEO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, my interpretation of limb 3 is that the eucalypts will not be pruned, so
Okay.
they will remain, and other forms of natural native vegetation will remain on the island, because that is the intention of the replanting as well, is to put natives and sedges back.
Thank you. So that falls within the master plan. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'd just like to confirm that I congratulate all the officers, all the city staff. This has been a costly, timely event for everybody, and I also thank and congratulate all the community for being involved. It's hard to please everybody. It's all there. As you say, it's on Engage Bayswater. We have formal meetings, lovely forums that they can get to. It's open, it's honest, and people are really helping to assist the council. We have a good committee, a good master plan, and I feel that we're going ahead. And listening to the CEO's chronology of how we actually gained from September to, in quotes, 2 weeks ago, I just feel that everything is on plan, shouldn't be stopped. We should just go ahead and listen to what everybody is saying and continue the good works. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against this motion? Anyone wish to speak for? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to also acknowledge the concerns and the various views that we heard from different community members. This is a complicated issue, and we are trying to find solutions, and the city is basing the actions that we are undertaking on scientific advice of the experts that we are engaging with. As the CEO mentioned, the nutrients contribution from the cormorants is huge. So I think this is a valid action to continue progressing. I also would like to commend the officers for their work and the council for continuing to see this issue as a high priority. I'm happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll go the mover to close. Nothing? Okay, I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so we now move on to item 10.1.1, Proposed Road Dedication Reserve 41129 Black Boy Way Reserve, 14 Black Boy Way Morley. Councillor Eason, you've pulled this item. Have you got a motion to move?
Yes, I do, thank you. It's in the run sheet as an alternative, and probably just want to confirm that there was just a slight typo on one of the limbs, which hopefully has been updated. Yeah, cool. When it gets on the screen, I'll just confirm if that's okay.
So just for the benefit of the Deputy Mayor who can't see us, we're just waiting for the alternate motion to be put on the screen. It'll just be a few moments.
Perfect, thank
So,
you.
Councillor
That's-
Easton, if you can just have a look at what's on the screen, and just Deputy Mayor, just confirming you can see what's on there. Okay.
Do you want me to read it all out, or there's a
No,
bit there, that's all, but I'm happy to if it's needed.
it's up to you, Councillor.
You want me to read it? Yep.
So you may need to read
Yeah,
out
cool. I'll do it. That's all
the
right.
whole thing because it's not, you can't see.
It's
the
quite a
whole-
lot. Yep, that's understand. Okay, so
Oh, okay, then I'm just going to check that you can't make it smaller. It is in the run sheet for councillors.
it is in the run sheet.
It's
and
just
under
one,
those-
just explained the change from the
Yeah,
run
so
run
it's what's
sheet.
in the run sheet, and then for 1A, it has in inverted commas left out. It's had, in this version that's up here, and then that was what I was requesting is left in, left out arrangement, which is what's on the screen there. So that's the only difference on the run sheet that you've got.
So
in front
it
of you.
includes the left in.
The one on screen, left in, left out, is the include. Yep. It's the only difference from the run sheet is that it says left in, left out.
Okay, would you
Cool.
like, we'll ask if there's a seconder for this. Councillor Latta.
Left in, left out. That's what we're. Yeah, that's the amendment. That's yeah. So what we're doing is that one.
Councillor Easton, if you wish to speak to the motion.
Yes. So sorry, find my notes now. It's been one of those meetings. So cool. I'd like to thank the city officers for their work on this item. This included engagement with all residents in the surrounding area, those mostly impacted by the community members that are most impacted by this change or this proposed change. Feedback in the report reflects the feedback that I also received regarding traffic volume increases, as well as concerns from about the construction and negative amenity impacts longer term. And whilst the city is not the final decision maker on this matter, I feel that this alternative best reflects the wishes of our community and does the utmost to address the traffic impacts on the proposed development which sits within the City of Swan. This alternative seeks to provide clear intent to the Minister for Lands and the WAPC, who will ultimately make the decision on these matters. I'll probably listen to the rest of the debate if there's any questions that people have, but that's probably it for the opening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Latta. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll speak in support of it. So upon having, really considered what the impacts are to our community by this development, what the developer is seeking is for City of Bayswater residents in the City of Bayswater to deal with all the traffic impacts, to deal with all the amenity impacts, to deal with the changing of the road layout. And we're not talking about insignificant changes. We're talking about an increase in daily volumes of 240%, which it might be all well and good for them to say a traffic impact assessment states that the roads can handle that amount of volume. But what is the city and our residents actually getting out of this development? Absolutely zero. This development is entirely in the boundaries of the City of Swan. There is a main road, and it just is astounding to me that a development of this size is going to have zero access in and out of a main road. So that's why I thank Councillor Eveson for putting forward this amendment, which contemplates at least some type of access in and out, whether it's just being left in, left out. The reasons I've heard for them not including access from Beachborough Road North doesn't satisfy, in my mind, aren't good enough reasons. They might have to move some poles, or it conflicts with another road to the eastern side. There's a huge area on Beachborough Road North in which they could create access. Instead, they want to use the City of Bayswater roads. They want to they want to impact our residents that currently live on a cul-de-sac. I just don't see any benefit to our residents or to our cities. Who's going to, pay for the maintenance of these roads that now have a 240% increase in volume? Not the City of Swan, I can't imagine. They haven't indicated that they will give us any funding for that maintenance. So I think what is proposed is very fair and considered, and I would really hope that the Minister for Lands considers the impact on the City of Bayswater before just blanket approval of a new subdivision without any further consideration for our residents. So I'll be supporting this motion. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Johnson?
Probably not for or against, just want to make some comments if I could.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Because I found this one really difficult, and I really appreciate you pointing out the fact that, you know, yeah, it is not a decision that we're making about the subdivision or the development. It's not a decision that's within the bounds of our council. It certainly impacts our residents. It's also, I mean, I'd just like to comment, it's a really, you know, it is a big impact having a school with lots of sort of ovals and green spaces around it turned into housing, and that will have an impact on the area. I mean, sure, we need housing, but it is a big change for the folks in the area. And essentially what we're doing, I think, by agreeing to, you know, hand over this bit of land is handing over what's currently Crown land, even though it was used as a car park before, is to be part of a private development. And it's a very weird thing that the principal of the school comes here advocating for a private development because the principals of a state school wouldn't be doing that. You know, it's a very different a thing. I've worked all my life, well, most of my life in not-for-profits, and you know, for an organisation that doesn't pay taxes, that doesn't pay rates, you expect something better. And that's the thing. If you expect something to be 30% better because you're not paying those rates, and you expect the organisation that's not for profit to be doing better, 30% better than a private developer. And so I expect these property developers, which is a school, to do 30% better, and to really do a good job of this development in terms of making a good place to live and not impacting on, essentially, yes, what was a cul-de-sac turning into a main road. So I would support this on the basis that it's the only way, the only mechanism we have to provide this, to encourage this condition to have exit and in and out onto Beachborough Road, which is a main road, which seems appropriate. So I'll be supporting that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just really dittoing everything that you've said and everything that Councillor Johnson has said with regard to land that is selfishly avoiding the community care that we need in our area. The roads there are not large, and having that amount of traffic now expected to worm its way through in a normal process, even during construction, after construction, and be accepted as a modus operandi is absolutely shocking. There is the substation there on the road edge, and that could also sort of stay there, but they can use their own land forward of that rather than cheekily coming through Black Boy Way and sneaking and worming their way through the conduits of our streets. So I think from that point of view, I support this recommendation. And if this doesn't be accepted, Councillor Josh Eveson also has another one which I actually prefer because it's a total refusal. But certainly let's go for this and hope that they understand what we're saying and that they will change their plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Anyone wish to speak for? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Yeah, I'll just do it. I just quickly just wanted to mention, I guess probably a success we've had previously in this area and sort of, I guess, challenging the status quo to an extent. The most important point for the longer term area is traffic intersection issues. Now, this came up in the New Noranda Station DA approval, for those that might remember. Traffic modelling was done previously, and there was not going to be traffic lights, which would have caused a lot of issues with U-turns and traffic congestion prematurely. So I think, whilst modelling has been done, and my lived experience is that such modelling is not always accurate to what people will do. It tries to predict but people are people and they'll take the shortest path, and that's often hard to get right. So locals are clear in the area, clear about the in traffic intersection issues that would result from the new station, and this feedback was provided as part of the station DA, as I mentioned, and we were actually successful in getting traffic lights in instead of the U-turn facility that was proposed. So I think this is another one where, you know, Metronet's quite a large project. We haven't realised all the changes that's bringing at those stations and the streets, and so hopefully you know, we'll be successful in this one to influence this outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. So the next item is 10.3.4, proposed street tree removal for 45 Gummery Street. Nobody's pulled this one, so I'm going to pull it. And I have got a I've got an alternate motion. That I'm moving, and that has been provided in the run sheet. So, councillors, have you all got the alternate motion? And it's on the screen as well. So I'm going to ask if there's a seconder. Councillor Palmer. Okay. So, just Deputy Mayor, can you see what's on the screen? I'm just going to check with you for every item. That's all, just to make sure. Okay. So here we go. Councillors, I know that whenever we talk about tree removal, it can be a very divisive subject. So I'm going to try and be as objective and open about this as I can. So in considering this motion, I believe there are two approaches that can be taken. There's a common sense approach or a very narrow interpretation approach. So for me, the common sense approach weighs up the benefit of maintaining the existing canopy of a tree that has almost reached its end of life against the benefit of removing that tree, which will allow the preservation of an existing house as well as facilitate the building of a new house. By not knocking down the existing house, there are many benefits for the community as well as alignment with the city's strategic community plan. The first benefit is that we will be helping to keep housing stock available now, which is of critical importance during a housing shortage. If the owner had to knock down the existing house to build side-by-side houses just to keep the tree, it would be removing housing stock in the city for at least 12 months, but likely longer. There's no way anyone can argue that that would be a good outcome. By keeping the existing house, we are also adding to housing diversity and housing affordability. Housing diversity because you will have both an original home as well as a new home choice in Bedford, and housing affordability because keeping the existing home will result in a cheaper rental or purchase versus renting or purchasing a new build. This approach also aligns to multiple strategies within the city's strategic community plan. Strategy 9, encourage sustainability and sustainable lifestyles with a focus on waste reduction, carbon reduction, education, and the maintenance of assets. If the existing house were to be demolished, this would result in unnecessary waste going to landfill and contribute to additional carbon emissions and greenhouse gases. Strategy 10, green our suburbs and restore the natural environment and biodiversity while balancing density and built form. The motion we have before us aligns to this strategy as it balances density and built form while greening our suburbs through the planting of a new tree which is better suited to the location. Let's keep in mind that the tree in question is a Queensland box tree, which is an environmental weed as listed in a global compendium of weeds, a published paper authored by Roderick Peter Randall. The tree is an unsuitable species as reported by our own city arborist and is no longer included in the city's preferred list of trees. The tree has also been classified as an unsuitable species by the Water Corporation in their Selecting the Right Tree published document. The tree does not meet the criteria or the objectives of the city's trees on private land and street verges policies and does not provide for a diverse range of tree sizes and species to Gummery Street, which contains Queensland box trees on 30% of the verges. And strategy 11, support affordable housing and address homelessness. I've already touched on this point when I highlighted that keeping the existing house will result in more affordable rental or purchase option than a new build. Now, the other approach is a narrow view that puts tree canopy above all else. So I'm really, with this motion, asking councillors to consider that we can get a better outcome for our community with what's on the table. We will seek payment of the Helliwell value, which is $4,300 approximately. That can contribute to replanting trees now that are appropriate for our location, that will have a longer lifespan, that will be more suitable for under power lines in this street. I think this is a really good outcome and we need to consider the broader picture and look bigger picture and longer term when we have these kind of applications in front of us. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be very brief because I think you've actually explained everything. I'm pleased that there is a seeking of payment, and I feel that the Queensland box will be over time emitted, and then we can slowly put in native trees. But one of the advice in the actual agenda says the tree is suffering from fungus and scale and shows indication of decline. Now, if that's the case, then let's get on with it. Let's put a new native tree that's on our tree list and be done with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Johnson?
Can I request an amendment?
Depends what it is.
Yeah, this in the process. So I heard the applicant in their deputation last week talk about they had suggested they wanted a Physophilea, a Corymbia Physophilea, red flowering gum, that they wanted to plant a mature one.
Coral gum?
Sorry, yeah. And which is a great street tree. So I'm just wondering if you would consider including that in LIM 3, amending LIM 3 to include that specific species that the owner requested.
So would you be happy if it said at least one new coral gum to be planted in a suitable location? Yeah?
Yeah, like I heard the applicant say they would want to plant a large tree. Is that...
I've got the copy of the deputation in front of me.
Yeah.
So it says, replace it with a native, drought-tolerant, height-appropriate tree that will benefit the community for many decades to come without costing the community money or resources. I'd like to propose that I plant a coral gum that is on the current COB planting pallet and water-wise tree list and is a native, drought-tolerant species.
Yeah, they're great street tree, and I just wondered, I think it says in the deputation that they would plant it themselves. Is that something that we can include?
Can I just address that? Or actually what I might do is just go to the director with a question on that. if the resident plants a verge tree themselves, is it then the resident's tree? Whereas if the city plants it, it's the city's tree. Can you just confirm that?
If you look at the thoroughfares local law, so that actually states that if it's planted by the resident, it is their tree, so it's not our tree. We'd actually prefer the city to actually plant it, mainly for safety reasons, because we don't like allowing other people to go and dig holes in our verge. There's underground services and things like that, so we want to keep control of that operation just to keep people safe, and we have the contractors and appropriate people with all the safety equipment to be able to do that and make sure that it's done in a safe manner.
So thank you for the explanation. I'm happy with that.
So are you happy with Limb 3 just having the inclusion of coral gum? Yeah? Okay, then I accept that. I'll just check with the seconder. Are you happy to accept that amendment? Yep. Okay, so that forms part of the substantive. Did you wish to speak to it?
Also want to move the officer's recommendation, please. Oh, sorry, foreshadow. My apologies. The officer's recommendation.
Okay.
Speak on it. If you,
Go ahead.
This is the time. I was really curious about the use of the terms common sense and narrow interpretation, because keeping the tree is the common sense approach. Like, you can interpret that any way you want, and that language is used to make decisions that are based on our policies seem, like they're crazy decisions. These are based on our policies, and we've got policies for a reason. It's because we, as our council and our community, have policies about maintaining and increasing our tree canopy. It's the only way we can keep our suburbs cool into the future. So I think, so that language I don't think is very helpful. It is a council tree. Look, certainly there's a great deputation. We all got handouts. It was very organised. It spoke to all of our strategies. So it was a very well done deputation. So I'd like to acknowledge that. But at the end of the day, the property owners bought a house that was already a property that was already approved for a subdivision, and already knew that the tree would need to be retained to do that. We have we've got some information in the report in front of us that talks about how the tree can be maintained and the development can be carried out, and I think we should encourage that. The view that by refusing this application we're decreasing housing stock is kind of a bit, it's a moot point, really. We're talking about one property when we're, in an area where we've got in some parts of the city, 15% of our houses are vacant. We've approved development after development which is not built. We're doing our damnedest to increase housing. I don't think a decision about a tree should really be conflated into a decision about increasing housing stock. I think there's a way of maintaining this tree. This is an area where there's been lots of subdivisions. We heard a question earlier about another property on the same street. If you look at the site plan for this property, it's likely that other trees will be lost during the development. I think it'd be, just keep the tree.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Maleka?
Thank you. I've always been of the view that I'd like to consider items like this on a case-by-case basis. So what I heard from the Mayor tonight, I think you made many valid points, and it was all about balance. So I see this as being a way of looking at it in terms of balance. So trees and expanding our tree canopy play a vital role in enhancing our urban environment, and I don't think anyone in this chamber has ever disagreed with that or will disagree with that. But at the same time, we are facing a housing crisis, and that's right in front of us. So in this instance, I see this as an opportunity to provide a roof over the head of an individual or a family while we're still fostering the growth of our tree canopy. And again, we have an opportunity here to choose a tree that will have a longer life, and it will be in a site-specific place planted by the city that can be nurtured and cared for.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Councillor Ladder?
I have a question, please, of the city. just based on like the debate and having read the report, is demolition of the house actually required to have a subdivision and retain the tree?
I'll go to the director.
Thank you. Through the chair, based on the current subdivision, because the tree was being retained and what has been approved by the West Australian Planning Commission, is that the dwelling will need to be demolished in order to facilitate the two lots.
Thank you. Did you wish to speak? No? Anyone wish to speak against? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I will support the motion on the table. I will support the officer's recommendation. I echo Councillor Johnston's comments, and I will add a few others. I think the best common sense approach is, first of all, to listen to our residents. And we just recently, we heard formally from the city, the tree canopy was the #1 issue for our residents, by far from all other issues, by far. And I think all councillors remember the diagram that we saw. So I think when we talk again about common sense approach is to ensure that we do not kill healthy trees that we can keep without a really strong justification. And I also do not agree with this twist around housing. I do not support that. And this is on public land. This is not on private land. I thought the issue that some councils had is with regulating trees on private land. Now, I think we can see again that the issue is with trees on public land as well. The city provided alternatives. The WAPC already approved one alternative. I think there are options, and we can keep that mature tree. And we lose hundreds of trees each year due to the changing climate. And only recently, while I was on leave, I saw the very bad reporting that our city unfortunately received, and not with any good justification, with regards to the removal of trees on the islands and the Manners Lakes, which we did have reasons why we did it. But look at that now. Now we are continuing to remove more healthy, mature trees. I am very concerned about the message that we are sending to our residents, that it's not only the Manners Lakes, it's everywhere. The city will always, not the city, the council, if it supports it, always can find justifications why they want to remove healthy, mature trees. So I fully do not support it, and I hope that no council will support it. We are the Garden City. We should keep those trees alive. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak in support? Anyone wish to speak against? If not, I'll close. Is that my microphone doing that? Okay. So thank you everybody for your comments. I stand very firm by the fact that this does impact housing, and it is a housing issue. Ask a homeless person or ask someone couch surfing whether one property makes a difference to their life, one property that's available to rent or one property that's available to purchase, if that makes a difference to their life and their family's life. It's absolutely critical. And this does impact housing, unfortunately. I'd also say that this tree is nearing the end of its life. It's not a suitable species. And we can actually get in front by planting a new suitable tree in that location and prepare ourselves for the future, when eventually these box trees that have all been planting at the same time along the same street are going to roughly die at along the same time. And then there'll be zero canopy if we're not preparing. The deputy last week referred to the city of Claremont, who proactively had a program to remove their Queensland box trees and replace them, therefore future-proofing their canopy. So I really think that this will result in a better long-term outcome for the city and for our environment. And that's why I hope that you'll be supporting this motion. So I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That's Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ossowski, Councillor Eason, Councillor Palmer and myself. All those against? Councillor Latta, Councillor Johnson and the Deputy Mayor. That is carried. So we now, councillors, that concludes the items in section 10 that were subject to deputations, and we'll now move to consideration of the reports in section 10 that have been withdrawn by councillors. So we're going to have to actually start with 10.1.2, extraordinary vacancy West Ward. Nobody's pulled this, but there is an absolute majority required for Lim 6 only. So do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Johnson, seconded Councillor Latta. Councillor Johnson, do you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, I mean, as unhappy as I am being the only West Ward councillor at the moment, we got elections later on this year, makes sense to fill it then.
Thank you. And I would just also say that councillors, as part of this, I will call for nominations for each of the committees in the order that they are shown in the officer's recommendation. Once we have all of the nominations for all of the committees, I will put the entire officer's recommendation to the vote. So should I get the nominations first before we debate? Okay, so the first one is, I believe, the Reconciliation Advisory Committee. Anyone nominate? Councillor Palmer, you wish to be on that? Thank you. Anyone else? If not, can we get Councillor Palmer's name put into that, Lim? The next committee, Councillor Latta, you have a question?
Do any of these committees require the councillor to be replaced? Like, is there an issue if any of these remain vacant?
I'll go to the Manager of Governance to respond.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Under the Act, a committee of council is required to have at least 3 persons on the committee. So all of these committees already have at least 3 people on the committee. With the Reconciliation Advisory Committee, there are currently 3 elected members, and with the Active Transport Advisory Committee, there are currently 4 elected members, including the vacancy created by former Councillor Clark. For the Walga deputy member, we have specifically been asked by Walga to provide a replacement deputy member.
So the next one is the Active Transport Advisory Committee. Do I have a nominee for that committee? No, but we don't need to have one, just to confirm.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there are currently 3 elected members. Sorry, I was incorrect before. The ATAC has 4 elected members and 4 community members. So if the council doesn't replace the elected member position, there will be 3 elected members on the committee and 4 community members on the committee.
And that's fine, right? I will nominate if it's required, but I'm on a lot of committees, so
It's up to you, councillor. You're not? Okay. Anyone for this committee? No? Okay. The next one is Deputy Member of Walga East Metropolitan Zone. Anyone interested? I'll nominate myself then. Okay. So this was moved by Councillor Johnson, who's spoken to it, and it was seconded by Councillor Latta. Do you wish to speak to it?
Just to say that I think it's reasonable for us to wait until the regular elections at the end of the year, because extraordinary elections have a significant cost associated with them, and I think that if we can avoid having to spend that extra money, all the better. And considering that in October the number of West Ward councillors will be reduced by 1 anyway. I just think that it's a significant cost for a very short amount of time. And by the time they were elected, it would be an even shorter amount of time. So I support this motion, and am sad to see Councillor Clark go.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. So the next item, again, it hasn't been pulled, but it requires absolute majority, is 10.1.3, agreement to conduct local government elections, West Australian Electoral Commission. Do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor Osazowski. Councillor Latta, anything? Councillor Osazowski. Anyone wish to speak against this motion? All right, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. The next item is 10.1.4, proposed naming of reserve 33533. Councillor Palmer, you've pulled this one. Are you moving officer's recommendation? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eveson. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We brought this up previously on the naming of the reserve, and we were happy to appoint Graham Pittaway, who was a former councillor and colleague of most people here. Some obviously may not have had the good pleasure of his company at the Chambers, but he was certainly a very loyal and supportive person of those that are here. He supported the community, his family, and all the committees that he was on in a very sincere way. He put his heart and soul and vigour into anything that he did. He was well accomplished and had an OAM from the government, which was a great honour. And I think this is very fitting for the area and for the people around who know him so well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eveson.
No, I think Councillor Palmer's done a very good job, but yeah, very fitting. So look forward to the approval by Landgate.
Anyone wish to speak against this? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll just reiterate the comments I made when this first got brought by Councillor Palmer to Council, that I think it's a beautiful gesture and very well-deserved gesture by former Councillor Pittaway. It's in a very relevant location. It has meaning to his family and the community in which he served. And I think it'll be beautiful. I hope we can do something to have some type of naming ceremony event. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I say, I thank the family, all his friends, and those that gave notices here and stood up and spoke on his behalf. Thank you.
I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Osazowski, Councillor Eason, Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta, Deputy Mayor and myself. All those against? Councillor Johnson. That is carried. Okay, so the next one is 10.2.1, financial report for the period ended 31 December. We've got a few impartiality interests. So can I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Johnson, seconded Councillor Maleka, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Maleka. Anyone wish to speak on this? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. The next item is 10.3.3, Walga Sustainable Energy Project Phase 2. Councillor Johnson, you've pulled this, just reminding you that there are confidential attachments. So if you're going to move.
I won't go into detail on the confidentials, but just wanted to really...
wait, are you moving the officer's
Yes, can I move the officer's recommendation,
Do I have a seconder?
please?
Councillor Palmer, Councillor Johnson, go ahead.
Thanks, it's a great report. I won't talk about the detail, but it's got a lot of data in there, which is a massive amount of work in terms of analysis of our energy requirements. Great work on sort of the whole deal that Walga's helped negotiate. We've saved so much money by making the switch to renewables. It says we saved $1 million over the previous agreement and 800,000 odd more in this agreement by doing the right thing. Like, we've saved money and we're doing this great thing. It's like such a win, and I'm so glad that those things are now aligned, that you can, we can meet our climate target objectives internationally, nationally. You know, they break down like statewide and locally, so you can you know, have these targets that are helping us achieve big things in our local area. And it's saving us a lot of money. So I did have a question though.
Yeah, go
And the
ahead.
question was, I think in one of our plans we talk about setting that money aside for future investments into energy efficiencies. Is that correct?
I'll go to the director to respond.
Yeah, through the chair, there has been money put into a reserve fund. So in the previous years, there's been about $120,000 a year that's been transferred into that fund.
Sorry, how much? My apologies.
120,000 per annum.
Okay, all right. So probably save more money than that. So I'm just wondering if in future, is there a plan for that to be, now that we've got the data and the information, is there a plan for that to be matched more closely?
Through the chair, yes, certainly.
Yeah, no, it's a great outcome and really, yeah, just really happy to see that report. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer. Is that not working?
Oh,
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, just the buzzword that I can say, and it is a buzzword everywhere at the moment, and that's future-proofing. And this is what we're doing as a city financially and energy-wise, and with the energy renewable system, we can't go wrong. I think it's a great, wise step to take, and I think Councillor Johnson and everything has put that to rest. Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so the next item is 10.4.1, consideration of unhosted short-term rental accommodation uses. No one's pulled this, but it requires absolute majority. Do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Palmer, seconded. Councillor Osazowski, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's something that really is out of our hands, but I'm happy to, move this because it's got more than one toilet and more than one bathroom, and that really is one of my musts when it comes to the short-term accommodation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Osazowski. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay. The next one is 10.5.1.3. Councillor Latta has an impartial interest. So can I have a mover and seconder? Policy Review Grants Program. Moved Deputy Mayor. Seconded Councillor Eason. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak on it?
No, thank you.
No. Councillor Eason. Anyone wish to speak on this item? Okay, I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Next item, Councillor Maleka, you've got a proximity interest, so you need to leave the room. It is 10.5.1.4, Policy Review Edible Gardens Policy. Is there a mover? Councillor Osazowski, seconded Councillor Latta. Councillor Osazowski.
Just to say that I think it's great that we can put edible gardens, and also in regards to community gardens in city assets such as parks, people are able to make do edible gardens inside parks as well, and there's a process for people to follow if they wish to get one done in their local park. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. Councillor Latta.
Yeah, I think there's some useful expansions of the policy as well. Not only will edible pocket gardens, but also Miyawaki forests. I hope I said that correctly. So it's exciting, and I'm glad that we have retained this policy and added to it.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous, and we'll get Councillor Maleka back in the room. For your information, that was carried. The next item is 10.5.1.11, policy review attendance at events. This requires absolute majority. No one's pulled it, so can I have a mover and seconder? Move, Councillor Ostrzowski, seconded. Councillor Johnson, Councillor Ostrzowski, Councillor Johnson. Anyone wish to speak against? I'll put it straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. The next one is item 10.5.2.1, City of Bayswater Annual Report and Annual Financial Report. No one's pulled this. Councillor Ostrzowski has an impartial interest, but it requires absolute majority. Councillor Johnson, are you moving? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Eveson, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. I won't go into the report. We're going to be presenting that if this is adopted at the 12th of March at the AGM of electors. But just to say, in terms of the process, it's really great. I mean, the Audit and Risk Committee meeting met just before Christmas, had a rush meeting to everyone scrambled so we could get this done and adopted as quickly as possible after the Auditor General had finished going through our accounts, so that we're in a position to be able to bring it to this meeting. So I want to thank the committee, the Audit and Risk Committee, and our independent members, Shona Zulstoff and Andrew Cox, and of course our staff, and even the Office of the Auditor General this year for getting their report done faster than they have for a long time. So it was really, so great to have that report at this meeting because of the hard work of the folks that have put in this year, and looking forward to the electors meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Eason.
Probably just to say, thanks to the OAG for getting it done much quicker this time. It feels a lot better and a lot more comfortable for everyone, I'm sure. So attending that meeting just before the Christmas shutdown was was a pleasure to do, to be honest. So get it done and look forward to the AGM.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, we'll now move to adopt the remaining items in section 10 en bloc. Can I have a mover and seconder? Move, Councillor Latta, seconded Councillor Maleka. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. We're now on to item 11, notices of motion. 11.1, Councillor Eveson, play space renewal at Robert Thompson Reserve. Do you wish to read out your notice of motion?
Yes, I can. Cool. And it's on the screen, so that's good. So that council changes the classification of the Robert Thompson Reserve parks and play space classification from neighbourhood to district. Dot point number 2, increases the community infrastructure provision at Robert Thompson Reserve to reflect the change in classification in Lim 1 above. And number 3, reviews the funding allocation required to support Lim 2 above as part of the review of the Forward Capital Works program.
Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Palmer. Councillor Eason.
Thank you. Look, I did write a lot of things. I'll try and sort of get through it quickly. But look, just thanks to the officers for the thorough report, which to me really demonstrated, I guess, the need to update the place-based classification for Robert Thompson Reserve. It really isn't just a neighbourhood park, and ask anyone living in Naranda and the northern part of Morley. Robert Thompson is at the top of the list as a place to meet, have play dates, host children's birthday parties, have a barbie, get in some exercise, even walk your dog. So it's a place that has a bit of something for everyone, and that needs to continue and hopefully be built upon. The problem that I did see in the recent engagement that went out for the play space was there's probably 3 key themes: budget, timing, and a bit of adaptation to the changes that are happening around Naranda, especially with the train station and transport. So I'll just cover those quickly if I can. Look, budget-wise, the typical allocation for a neighbourhood park is around $75,000 to $90,000. So regardless of inflation, that figure is already considerably well short of the equipment that's already installed at Robert Thompson. So even if we're going to do a like-for-like, we're actually going to be, with that classification, it's at risk of falling short. And that was done 14 years ago, and at a cost of $125,000. So for me, updating the classification helps to raise the budget amount now, making sure that we have a means to deliver a play space that meets community expectations, not being left short or requiring costly rework later. as has happened with a couple of play spaces, sadly. You don't get much for your money, which is always changing. Timing-wise, now is actually the time to make this adjustment. So community feedback is fresh and shows support, strong support for something more at Robert Thompson. But most importantly, Council has just started our recently improved and comprehensive budget process for the upcoming FY26 budget. It's a lot of meetings, but it's very thorough. So, and vitally important is that forward capital works plan. So this actually looks to make that adjustment and put it into our longer term view so we know it's coming. The last one I mentioned was our change adaptation. Council prides itself on adapting to shifts in community expectations, as well as being responsive to external changes across our city. The community continue to provide feedback on play spaces. They're not really up to scratch. We've got a lot of them, but they are expensive. So externally, we now have the Naranda train station. We're seeing increased bus connections to Naranda. Council's made it very clear the desire to stimulate and grow our local centres, and Naranda shops are only a few hundred metres away. So improving this play space will probably, assist with that ongoing growth and I guess just nice touch-ups to what's already there. So they're probably the three reasons, and I'm happy to leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, it's a bit of a catch-22. It's interesting that the map I'm looking at, the actual reserve label, Robert Thompson Reserve, doesn't really show the size. But if you look on page 752, you'll see the size of it there with great pathways for pushchairs and everything. It is a wonderful picnic park. What you can't see in that picture is the actual fencing off of some of the tree areas that have occurred, because they're lovely, beautiful, big elderly trees that have wonderful black and red-tailed cockatoos and so forth. And so if you take off the fact that sooner or later all those other trees may be cordoned off for the well-wishing of the trees and so forth, we've actually got quite a small park. So from that point of view, I'd say that we're not expecting to spend $1 million here, because when you look at the picture on 755, you'll see there's quite a lot of reserves, including Box Hill, and they're all seeking good, refreshing park areas as well. And when we did have our play area consultations with staff, they really looked to see, it costs millions to change these parks over. So what we will do in Robert Thompson, we will do wisely and carefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against?
Ask a question.
Go ahead.
My apologies, I should have asked this last week. I just want to get a sense of what the reclassification really means. Is that just an internal thing in terms of our resource allocation, which is how I heard it explained? Is that correct?
I will go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair, so what it means is that if we look at the provision or the amenity that we provide in the park, it just actually increases that expectation that will provide more facilities in there, probably a high grade facilities, larger playground, things like that. So it's just basically catering for a bigger catchment area, so there will be perhaps more usage of the park if we provide those greater amenity in the park.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to speak on this item? Councillor Ladder.
Thank you. I just have a question, actually. Why? Oh, it's your motion, not the city's. I'm just curious why, the dollar amount is not included in the motion and why it's only in the report, I suppose. Can I ask that question? I'm not sure if it's...
I will go to the Director to respond.
Through the chair. So there's still a range in terms of how much you can spend there and when you want to spend it and exactly how much you want to spend, and that's probably a discussion that needs to occur as part of the annual business planning process and the Forward Capital Works program to allocate a certain amount. At the moment, the Forward Capital Works program has an allocation of $200,000 for the park for the renewal. So Yes, yep. So it will be up to council to further discuss that as part of the annual business planning process in terms of how much more, or if there is more than 200, or how much more council would like to spend and how much they can afford on the actual reserve.
Did you wish to speak on it? Okay. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I am not in a position to support this tonight for several reasons. The first one is the funding issue. The officers advise us in the report very clearly that it will cost us, by doing that, more than $500,000, over $500,000, and that does not include future maintenance costs. I always believed, and I always mentioned that this is not financial sustainability looks like. We first need to find the money, and then we need to decide which projects we want to allocate any surplus that we may have. And I'm not familiar with any surpluses. What I do know is that our long-term financial plan in the next 6 or 7 years takes millions from reserves, depleting them to get us to a balanced sheet. So we do not have any surplus. If we will find a surplus, and this is a key priority, a project for that area, which could be, I will not reject it in principle. At that stage, we should consider that. So I think from my perspective, the issue is more the timing. I would recommend to the council to wait with this, to wait until May, June, when we have the figures, what we have, how much money, not creating expectations that we are going to fund something with the money that we do not have. This is not urgent. It's a nice to have, it's a nice upgrade. Let's see if we have the money. Riverside Gardens, we already committed to go ahead with a bigger playground. I have not seen the figures yet, and I'm not sure if we have those funds. And I would like to highlight that there is no urgency. The city said that it needs to be replaced only in 2027, 2028. So I think we can wait several more months or half a year to make a more informed decision on this issue. The second issue, and I think it echoes the comments from the deputy that we heard tonight, is community support. I do not know if there is community support. I have not seen it in this. What I do recall that, if I recall correctly, a couple of years ago, the mayor brought to us a motion to remove Robert Thompson Reserve from any consideration from the BMX and skating strategy. And the reasons that were given to us is that the community appreciates this park as a quiet park. This is what I recall. That was the reasons. So it contradicts for me. If the community in Orenda wants that to be transformed, and that should be the key priority, we should look at all the projects that we have also in Orenda, because I recall a lot of other projects that we are going to fund in the next few years, and see what we're doing. We need to prioritize. We're not just committing as we go on ad hoc basis. And the third thing is impact, and that was also mentioned by the deputy. I have not seen any survey of the impact on that area. I think residents living in the area deserve that we will follow the process before we commit to make a big change to a district playground. And once we have that, we can make the decision. And as I said, I would like to highlight again, I do not reject it in principle. I would like to follow the process when it comes to community consultation and when it comes to finding funding for this project. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question to the director, just following on from the comments from the deputy mayor. Can you confirm if this resolution was carried by council, does it lock us into any funds above what's already budgeted for this park?
By adopting this resolution, it doesn't bind council to put any greater amount of funding towards it, but it is something that council will need to consider as part of its annual business planning process. if it wishes to, because what will happen is there will be some expectation from the community that if we're going to a district level, there might be some improvement to the amenity at the park, but that'll be up to council to decide on how much extra amenity they want to provide at the park.
Yep. And that just forms part of the normal business planning process as it would be for any project.
That's correct.
And it could be scheduled for the coming financial year or in future financial years when we do our long-term financial planning.
That's correct. And that's why we have the Forward Capital Works program.
That's why.
That we can plan for the next 10 years.
Okay, understood. Thank you. I'm not going to speak a lot on this except just to clarify a comment that the Deputy Mayor made. He referred to a previous council decision where the skate park and bike park were excluded from consideration at Robert Thompson. He used the words because the residents like a quiet park. It was passive use was the term used back then. Passive in terms of picnics and barbecues and walking and playgrounds and dogs, and passive, not for actual sporting. So it was a different classification back then for being like a sporting BMX jump and skate park type of thing to being a passive park for more the type of use that's already there for children, playgrounds. So I just wanted to clarify that. It wasn't referred to, it was not a quiet park, it was a passive park. Anyone else wish to speak on this? If not, I'll go the mover to close.
Cool, thank you. Good debate as always, especially when it's about dollars. I think it's very responsible and important to do that, which is why I've structured it with the guidance from the city on the process. Really, it's probably understating that Robert Thompson is a neighbourhood park. It's already trying to operate as a district park. It just doesn't have the facilities to do so, and that's what I'm trying to enable here. But absolutely, we've got to try and look very far ahead, try and understand what these costs might be, and then put them in amongst all the other priorities. And that's the process that we have got defined in front of us. The meetings will start soon. They're already banking up in the calendar. And this isn't for the next financial year. This is now, as mentioned in the report, it is for the future. So now is the time to plan for the future, not in the future. That's part of the problem, I believe, that I've seen previously with how some things were done that way. That's why we're going to put this in and put it in the mix and then see what shakes down. So that's all part of that process. In regards to responses or community appetite, 72 responses on a play space, that's quite good. Definitely a lot of online feedback, and as people usually do, they post on social media, but they don't necessarily fill out a lovely survey that the city would like to see. There was a lot of traffic from this, from residents and also people that would say, "Oh, I'd love to. I've been there before, and I'd love to see other things." So it's also bringing people in. So I think that's something that's worthwhile remembering when we're trying to elevate our town centres and leverage off Metronet. There is some adjustments that probably need to be made, and that's really what's influencing this. But aside from that, I think it's very aligned to community expectation. That's the correction I'm trying to make. Otherwise, we would have a bit of a gap, and I've already dealt with some of those at some of our play spaces. So don't want to do that anymore if I can get away with it. So yeah, I hope encourage everyone to support this one.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Oskowski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Palmer and myself. All those against? Councillor Latta, Councillor Johnson and the Deputy Mayor. That is carried. So we'll now go to item 12, questions from members without notice. Are there any questions? Councillor Johnson.
Oh, thank you. The one thing that everyone in Bayswater agrees on is they want trees on King William Street. Can I get an update, please, on that plan?
I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, we've been working on plans to get the trees in along King William Street, so we do have some plans drafted. They're still being reviewed internally. We're close to having a set of draft plans that we can show the council, so in future, next month potentially, we'll come forward with a plan to show councillors. Obviously, we want to keep the project moving along because we want to have it ready for the winter planting program to get the trees in there. It is actually, the plan extends from the town centre all the way down to the river. and it is looking at trees along the parking areas and also down the median as well. So a lot of trees are proposed, and we're also talking to Main Roads in regards to a potential slight speed reduction on the road to accommodate the trees and to make the environment safe for motorists along there.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. Just one question with regards to mosquitoes. A massive issue this year in Maylands specifically. It has always been an issue, but this year it is really a crisis. And I already asked the city lots of questions and received some responses, but I still have one question left. Whether there are any other things that the city can do to mitigate this health and amenity issue for our residents.
Thank you. I'll go to the Director.
Thank you. Through the Chair, as Council is aware, the City of Bayswater is incredibly thorough in its mosquito control program. This year we are experiencing higher tides due to the weather pattern, and that is something that we cannot control. However, in terms of the treatments, we are treating more than we have in previous years in response to the issues that are being raised. However, as we note, the prevailing winds do bring in mosquitoes from other areas, which does cause some difficulty. In relation to your question, is there anything more that we are doing? My coordinator of environmental health has been going out to residents' properties, and we have actually been placing traps on residential properties and tracking numbers to identify the pattern of where mosquitoes are coming from. So that could be based on wind patterns, or it could, and we are actually testing the mosquitoes to determine if they're from the Swan River or from the residential property. In most cases, we're finding there is a mix, so there's some education that's coming along with that in terms of control mosquitoes on residential properties. So we are doing more measuring and data collection to better understand how these mosquitoes are travelling. But notwithstanding that, the city has a comprehensive mosquito management plan that we continue to undertake and will continue to do so.
Thank you. Just a follow-up question, and thank you for all those actions undertaken so far. Are there any other actions or treatments that the city can take that have been experienced or done by other local councils anywhere with regards to mosquitoes that we can adopt? Or this is it? What we see is the best that the city of Bayswater can do. I would like to deliver the message to residents if there are any other ways to deal with this issue.
Thanks. I'll go to the Director.
Thank you. As you're aware, Deputy Mayor, the environmental health team is an innovative bunch, as we have experienced with the midge and the treatment of midge. If there was something more that we could be doing that is innovative, then I would suggest we would be doing it. The reality is the innovation that we've created through the drones is something that is beyond what other local governments do, which is why they seek our assistance for treatment with respect to drones. I can say at this point that there is probably nothing further we can do other than actually tracking where these mosquitoes are coming from and actually treating further where it's required, and also education in regards to the residential mosquito problem that we're experiencing as well. It's not just the river. So they're probably the elements where we found where we can improve, and that is something that we have put in place. Beyond that, at this stage, there is nothing more that we can do, but we are continuously discussing with other local governments along the Swan River. We are not the only local government experiencing this issue. This is along the Swan River because it's in relation to higher tides, and we'll continue to liaise with them and also with the Department of Health, who also rely on our resources to share information and also advice in relation to this matter.
Thank you.
Councillor Ladder.
Sorry. Can I ask just a follow-up on that about whether the city is able to specifically look at Gibney Reserve before school goes back and whether the mosquitoes in that location are coming from that location or the open water nearby, and whether the city can do anything about that before school returns.
Thank you. I'll go to the director.
Thank you, through the chair. We are currently tracking Gibney Reserve. We have 2 trap locations just nearby, so that is something that we're actively looking at the moment.
Councillor Ostaszowski.
Thank you. Is the city able to advise residents what actions are being taken by the city to improve the general streetscape presentation, weeding, sweeping, pedestrian access ways, litters, mowing, pruning, etc., to address the ongoing concerns from residents and trying to, in regards to the standards of presentation across the city?
Thank you. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, there was a memorandum sent out to councillors, I believe on Friday, regarding the inspections that we've carried out and the increase in weeds around the area and some of the leaf litter that's accumulated in some areas, and it's a combination of the Christmas period break that we had, and we're playing catch up, but also the weather conditions have also helped those weeds to come up, and also the hot weather with the generation of the dry leaves around the place. It's not an issue just unique to us. We've looked at other neighbouring councils, even beyond our neighbours, that have very similar issues that they're facing. In terms of providing information to the community, we can provide something potentially online or through some other media to say that this is what we're doing. We have engaged a contractor to go and undertake some weed management around the area, and we're also stepping up our sweeping of the area to basically catch up and get us back to where the community expects us to be. So we have got things in place, and we can get that information out to the community to let them know that we are addressing those issues.
Councillor Eveson.
Cool. Sorry, I'm just going to reorganise the ones I got. So just road projects. So that, I've just got one around just reading election commitments that are impacting our city, and I noticed there's a $4 million funding commitment for McGillivray Ave and Morley Drive intersection. Been following this fund for about 3 years from memory. So given it's a lot of money, does the city have any updates in regard to what the $4 million will be used for, scope of work, that sort of thing?
Thank you. I'll go to the director.
Through the chair, at this stage, we understand it's the banning of the right turn movement. We understand it's that, and I've reported to council previously that that work is being undertaken, the design work is happening. Whether it goes beyond that and also deals with some of the other intersections, because banning that right turn movement will shift traffic around the general area. We don't know how far that money will go. It is a sizable amount of money, so $4 million is a fair bit for a project of that nature. But when we meet with Main Roads next, we will discuss that and find out more details, and we'll provide that information to council.
Yep. Thank you so much. Just had another one. Just so Galleria, obviously that's all going on undertaking. But I'm just interested. I'm not really sure where the question goes to who. But is there anything that the city can do to try and assist, I guess, with the owners of Galleria and the bus depot that's on Russell Street, and just trying to get, because when you look at the submission that they've done for Galleria, there's not really any integration between those two parcels of land. So I'm just trying to seek, is there any means that the city can impose, or in regards to advocacy or otherwise, to try and get better integration in those two sites? It's not very well linked at the moment, and I don't foresee it in the plan that they've submitted.
I'll go to the CEO.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to raise that with Vicinity and the Galleria, and I can certainly advocate. Some of the requests have been not responded to of late, Councillor Eveson, but I'm more than happy to raise that again with them and state that it's been raised at a council meeting to see whether we can get better integration. Now would be the time, as they're moving into their development phase, but we can certainly raise it with them.
Brilliant, thanks. And one that was, as I was waiting, I spent a fair bit of time at the licensing depot just recently. It's not somewhere you want to spend a long time, to be honest. But I do recall that Morley had a DOT, or there was a licensing. So it's another one that's probably outside our control. I'm just hoping, clutching at straws with in regards to election commitments. But is this something that we can push for with candidates? We can continue to raise. I know the mayor's done and has raised lots of questions about it. Morley just needs something that's going to bring people in, and that sure did for me. So I had to drive quite a way to get there and then wait a long time. So yeah, government services in Morley. Is there anything else that can be done that we're not already doing?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we can certainly continue to raise it. As you've indicated in the meetings that the Mayor and I have with candidates, we certainly raise it, and we can continue to do so.
Cool. That's it. Thanks.
Anyone else? No, I'll go on to item 13, new business of an urgent nature, and item 13.1 was considered earlier, and there are no other items of urgent business. So item 14 is meeting closed to the public. We have one confidential item this evening. Can I please have a mover and seconder to go?
Sorry, just before we do that, could the Deputy Mayor please confirm that they can maintain confidentiality?
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, do you mind confirming that you can maintain confidentiality for this next item? And he appears to be frozen on the screen, so I don't know. Can you hear us, Deputy Mayor?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, okay, now we can see you. Okay, so just confirming with you that you're able to maintain confidentiality for this
Yes, I
item.
confirm.
That's enough? Okay. So can I please have a mover and seconder to go behind closed doors? Moved, Councillor Maleka, seconded, Councillor Eveson. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Maleka, Councillor Ossowski, Councillor Eveson, Councillor Johnston and myself. All those against? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Latta and Councillor Peterson-Pick. Sorry that we have to ask you to leave the room. Okay, I will close this evening's meeting at 10:34 p.m. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.